Tracy Martin, 5 minutes in reply.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker. Thank you very much. Well, that was interesting. I think it certainly it raised the blood pressure in here. We had interesting dialogue. None of it was particularly surprising, bar one. There's a couple of things I didn't know before we started. One, that Judith Collins is my very good friend, and I appreciate that, Ms Collins. I appreciate that. And it's a joy to know that. It's a joy to know that something like this can bring two sides closer together. So I appreciate that, Ms Collins. Thank you very much. The other thing I didn't know before I started was, well, I kind of did, sir. I kind of did know it, but it's been reinforced for me, and it's around Mr Seymour's contribution. So Mr Seymour's contribution, apart from being somewhat muddled, was that Mr Seymour believed that this Act should be repealed. He absolutely believed it should never have passed into law. He absolutely, categorically believed that this government should not have signed that Act. But he will not vote against it. He will not vote to repeal something that he believes is fundamentally wrong, totally against his party's principles, totally against his values. But no, he can't bring himself to actually stand up for those things and vote to repeal this Act. And I want to thank my colleagues from the opposition. I think we've had very intelligent debate from this side of the House. And Materia Ture, her contribution, absolutely invaluable. She's right. This has nothing to do with the convention centre. This piece of legislation repeals an Act that gives corporate welfare. My bill would repeal an Act that provides a private business with something that nobody else gets, a protection till 2048, protection that nobody else in Auckland City has got. And I challenge the member, Mr Simon O'Connor, who again is a lovely man, and I'm sure that his, the voters in Tamaki find him particularly pleasant. I saw a photo of him with a large chocolate lab the other day, and again, I bet you that got lots of favourites. But what I would challenge him to is, I'm not confident that he's correct when he says that Aucklanders want this convention centre. Aucklanders voted through consultation with their local government for a sinking lid on pokie machines. Aucklanders were consulted by Auckland City in 2009 and 2010 and across the board voted for a sinking lid on pokie machines in the bylaws of Auckland City. And what's happened is that this government has decided that they know better than the people of Auckland, that they are not going to listen to the voice of Auckland, which said, we want a sinking lid, we want these things to actually slowly become less and less and less. They've decided that they're going to strike a deal for an international convention centre. And this is not about a convention centre. This bill is merely about legislative change that gave somebody an unfair advantage. That's all it's about. That's all it's about. If you read it, it's not very long. And no, it's not very long. And I think that's really interesting. We kept it brief for the benefit of the government. We know that the government members, particularly the backbenchers, don't normally read the legislation they have to speak on. So we kept it very, very short so that we could possibly have some level of understanding by those members that actually had to stand and speak on it. And whoever gave you the notes that you've passed, I beg your pardon, whoever has handed out the notes that have been passed back and forward along the back bench, well done. Very good, nice bullet points, everybody used them. So it's disappointing, Mr Speaker. It's actually disappointing that the bill is very simple. It's about removing a protection to a deal that has changed. Sky City is not going to deliver the deal they signed on. It's also a concern, sir, that Mr O'Connor, Mr Seymour and Ms Lee tried to suggest to the New Zealand public that there's a $400 million debt here. Well, there's not yet, but when Sky City gets halfway through building it and then comes back for more money in New Zealand, there very well may be. But the fact that if there is debt involved with actually removing this legislation out of this Parliament, who struck that deal? The same people who are asking us to trust them because they're such good
Sorry,
negotiators for the
the
TPPA.
honourable member's time has expired. Members, this debate is concluded. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The noes have it. A party vote's called for. I'll ask the clerk to conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
32 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
12 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
2 votes in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 vote opposed.
United Future.
1 vote opposed.
Members, the ayes are 60, the noes are 61. The motion is not agreed to. Members, the time has come for me to leave the chair for the dinner break, and I shall resume the chair at 7:30.